If you could do one thing outside of politics, to help promote improving worker knowledge or experience, what would you do? I would be putting up billboards on all the major roads with giant sentences like, "It is illegal to prevent employees from discussing wages. Unpaid time is illegal, all worked seconds, minutes, or hours be paid at the agreed upon wages. They don't give us 2 weeks notice, don't even give them a day," etc. CEO Town Hall Questions. The CEO just put out a request for questions for his town hall meeting next month. I'm thinking of asking about retention raises or bonuses to offset inflation and the higher wages that new hires are getting. How do I phrase this not to get a giant target on my back? Wanted to share my experience with a terrible company after resigning. Resigned from my job many months ago because of absolutely stupid reasons and wanted to share them because honestly, screw this place. Had multiple problems there, including my boss causing me issues where they had constantly commented on my work saying it's not how they wanted it done and wouldn't tell me how they would like it done, so was in a constant state of questioning my performance when working. In context, I worked in IT with 3 people working in the department. There was me, first line support, my boss, manager, and then our department senior manager. Apart from the comments my boss was making, the place was very casual and it was a good job during those periods. Anyhow, the office has had its fair amount of drama where high-ranking staff members and even directors of the company had negative language thrown across to other staff members and whatever without anyone batting an eye. There had been a lot of problems regarding staff members where they had refused to do their own work and had asked IT to fulfill their role, and IT was sometimes pressured by higher-ranked members to do it. I was at times one of those people, and a head of department asked me daily to do a job. I was told by the senior manager of the IT department to not do them. I had more important priorities and to ignore and refuse them. At some point, because I had to ask for specifics regarding how to do the job, people had laughed at me for important information regarding it. For example, I was laughed at because they asked me to move a computer and I asked specifically how they wanted it to be set up since there was problems with Ethernet/cabling and we had to work around it. Was not a fun time. I got stopped one time when going to a person about it and I basically said, if you want the job doing you should do it yourself. No bad language or anything remotely like that, and I had been put into an investigation regarding it. Soon after, because of their response, I had put in my resignation and ended up not doing any work for my work period. I did more than the job required of me and I did it for minimum wage and at times was treated like an idiot. Even though I'm unemployed and have been looking for work for half a year, I'm at a much happier state. Recently found this subreddit and thought it was a good idea to share my story. I haven't really shared it with anyone yet. P.S. If anyone wants some stupid stories regarding the time I worked here, let me know. There are some really idiotic stories I can think of. I realize that this may seem quite mild compared to other people's situations. This was the last straw for me and lead me to resign. Found out I could have wrote the title better, but oh well. Bit too late for that, tongue sticking out. Finally standing up to disability discrimination at work. Long story short. I work at a law firm and am new to the industry. Right from day one, I was overworked, never trained, and expected to do the work of a lawyer while only being a paralegal. I have severe mental illness and 2 autoimmune disorders. The stress of the job started giving me intense panic attacks, to which end I decided to change my antidepressant. This, as expected, caused a huge uptick in symptoms and I was suicidal for about 3 months. I took short-term disability leave and my doctor said I needed to be out of work, as it was exacerbating the issue, for 4 months. I was surprised by how long I needed to be out, but given the severity of my mental distress eventually came to understand it. My work was understanding at first, but after a few weeks started repeatedly asking me when I was coming back. Unfortunately, I gave in to the pressure and returned to work after 1 month of leave, but just half-time. My doctor and therapist were not happy. We have always had 2 allotted work from home days. When I came back to work I always reported to work for my 3 work at office days. Every once in a while, if there was an emergency or uptick in my still struggling mental health, I would switch my WFH day to a different one, as most people in my office do if needed. After switching my WFH day once after my insulin pump died and I was stuck at home giving insulin injections and actively avoiding the ER, I told my boss I would work from home that day, since I had no sick days. The next day I came into work and my boss asked to meet with me and revoked all my work from home days because I was abusing the policy. She asked me when I would return to work full-time because half-time really is nothing and I need to be here. They will revoke my health benefits if I don't return within 3 weeks. I'm back at work full-time now, to keep my benefits, but had extensive flooding in my home yesterday. I asked for an emergency work from home day to have someone home for the workers to be let in and my boss said no, and only granted permission after I essentially begged. This was a tipping point for me, as other staff members WFH anytime there is an emergency or a child is sick, but I am not allowed. I sent an email to my boss today asking for written explanation of why I am no longer given work from home days so that I can consider to pursue legal action against their obvious discrimination. I'm really scared, but proud of myself for sticking up to this bullshit. Fuck jobs forever and let's just go back to the trade and barter system. Looking for a job? Don't mention your kids. Sadly, you will probably be skipped over. I speak from experience on the hiring side. A while ago, when I was hiring for an admin assistant, a lot of women applied and while I was sifting through all the applications, I saw a few solid applicates and showed them to my boss. First thing that came out of his mouth was, make sure they don't have kids. His reasoning was he didn't want the admin saying, oh, I gotta leave early to pick up little Timmy or a little Sarah is sick and I gotta take her home. Basically, he didn't want an admin that would have to constantly leave to take care of kids. He didn't even want me to look at applications that mention motherhood, being a mother, etc. I felt so awful discriminating women because of their choice to be a mother. I was on my way out the door during that time, so I honestly didn't get to be the one to pick who got hired. She was more than likely a single woman with 0 children. If you can get away with not mentioning them during the entire interview process, might help you get hired. And I know it sounds so terrible to have to read that cause most women are proud of their kids and love talking about them, but sadly, a lot of employers do not want to consider mothers for positions in a company. Fathers on the other hand, no discrimination there. Thought I was going into a promotion negotiation, got fired instead. TLDR, increasingly asked to do more at work, so I asked for a promotion. Supervisor/mentor had me fired. About a year ago, I was offered an amazing job at a small cultural organization doing exactly what my very niche specialization trained me for, working with someone I really admired who would be my mentor and supervisor. The catch? It was offered as a 1-year position with the promise to renegotiate terms after 1 year. Things were fantastic for a while, but I was frequently asked to do more and more things that were outside of the parameters of the position and salary. For example, my supervisor left the country for about 2 months, and although he worked remotely, all of the in-office things fell to me. I did this eagerly and willingly at first because I liked the work and I was in a precarious position with the single-year contract. But I also started to feel weird. Perhaps I'm being underpaid given my super specific skill set and the increasing demands on my time? They wanted more from me and I also wanted more money, more recognition. I wanted to settle in and make this my career, something I had known others had done at the org in the past by building their portfolios into senior roles. Over the year I've heard many times from the president, exec director, donors, and others about what a great job I've been doing. People from other orgs have commented on it, too. About a month ago the executive director offered me a full contract at the same position, so I countered with a pitch for something more senior. She told me she would consider it and we would discuss. At about the same time, however, I had a major conflict with my supervisor/mentor because he had messed up and fallen behind on a huge project and wanted me to help him pick up the slack. I was happy to do whatever he needed, but I wanted to be paid more for doing more work. This was the 3rd time this year that I had brought up the issue of pay and responsibilities, so I was shocked when he blew up about it. Today the exec called me to tell me that actually they don't have a job for me anymore, and after the year is up, that's it. When pressed, she admitted that it was because my supervisor doesn't want to work with me anymore. She doesn't want to have to manage our relationship. Contract ends August 31st and they'll pay through the end, but she told me not to come in anymore. Technically not fired BC if I were, there would be a wrongful termination issue, but they're in the clear with the single-year contract. Supervisor/mentor may or may not follow up to talk about it. He hasn't spoken to me in weeks anyway. Coward. Is this even morally okay? I work in AZ, so you get an idea of weather, at a privately owned business. Currently in our area, water had to be shut down yesterday by the city because of a pipe burst. We were able to leave early and that it should be up and running in a couple hours. Today our department including SUP came in an hour early, 6 a.m., to get ahead. We noticed that water was still shut down. Some people left, making management react by putting porta potties and hand washing systems outside under the sun and making us come back to work. My supervisor was chewed out, according to him, because he was spreading false info as this would not constitute as a safety issue. Wouldn't we need the water sprinklers in case of fire? That's safety issue number one. I just want to voice my concern as this is not okay in my point of view. Also, this company does not certify forklift drivers, which is all of us working here. Just wanted to add that little piece of info. I'm more than willing to give company info but not yet. Don't say nobody wants to work to someone looking for a job. Me wants to work. Brave new idea. Instead of inching our wages up, we could just drag costs down, raising hands. Any feasible ideas how this could be accomplished? 40 degrees Celsius at work? I've been wondering if I should post and ask for help, but looking at the weather forecast I need advice. For all the English users here, I hope we exist a bit here. There is a strong heat wave and on Monday it's going to be the worst day. And to make it worse, the place I work at doesn't have aircon. If anyone's been to be at I think the general reputation is just hot, unbearable stores. The past couple of weeks the store has easily been like 35 degrees Celsius, but this Monday it's forecast 38 degrees, so it's safe to say it's going to be at least 40 here. There's no legal requirement for them to do much and they say they are doing all they can, but are too cheap for aircon. Is there anything I can say to dodge a literal hell shift? I can't just say it's too hot it feels like, and I don't know if I can call in sick, but I'm starting to feel sick thinking about Monday. My company has a secret internal hiring freeze that they aren't telling anyone about, and it's caused several people, myself included, to interview for non-existent promotions. And companies wonder why employees aren't loyal anymore. I spent a month and a half of my time interviewing for a possible promotion that I was really hoping for. It was in a field I had been trying to break into for some time, would give me massively better work-life balance, and a raise. Then come to the week where I'm told that a decision would be made. I get told not only am I not getting hired for it, but nobody is because of a hiring freeze that supposedly just got announced, and the worst part is that they said if there hadn't been a freeze I would have been the one offered the role. So then I start talking to my team, and someone else says they had the same thing happen to them. And then another. And then another. Basically over the past 2 months I know of 4 people who got promotions blocked because of this supposed freeze that nobody was told about. So I'm doing what any rational person would do, I'm making sure everyone around me knows about the freeze so they don't bother wasting time applying to roles that are still showing as open and even being interviewed for, and I'm applying at other companies. Things like this are the norm for companies today, and yet people still want to pretend like people should be loyal to their employer. Companies only exist to use their workers as much as possible and have no problem screwing them over the first chance they get.